Today we're checking out the EG4 Chargeverter versus eco-worthy 60 amp battery charger. Now I recently just bought this one so I could compare it with this one because this comes in at half the price at about $300 versus this one is around $630. Now this isn't a sponsored video, I bought both of these myself and I'm not trying to sell you either one, I'm just trying to give you the information. But if you do buy one of these, I will have links below and that also helps support the channel so I can bring you more videos like this. Now coming in at $630, this EG4 unit can also put out more power at over 5100 watts. So at 5120 watts, while using a 240 volt source, this one can only put out a max of 3200 watts. Both of these can be powered by a 240 volt source, so if you have a 240 volt generator, you can use that, or they can also be powered by 120 volts as well, so a much smaller generator if you're looking at using these. Now as far as size and weight, these are almost the same size. This one here just is a little bit deeper if you look at it by maybe about 2 inches. And when it comes to weight, this one is also about 1.5 pounds lighter. So 13.5 pounds for this one and about 12.5 to 13 pounds for this one. Now the EG4 unit is meant for 48 volt battery systems, and if you happen to see batteries, if you're new to this and you see 51.2 volts, yes, you can use this with that as well because your charging voltage is going to be higher. Now the eco-worthy unit, this one can actually do lower voltage down to 32 up to 64 volts. So this means it can do 36 volt systems like in golf carts. So this one does have a little bit more flexibility if you're wanting to charge lower voltage batteries from say a 48 volt system. Now when you do buy this one, it does come with the cables attached to the side of the unit, your positive and negative, which is going to be a 7 gauge wire along with your 240 volt cable. Now when you buy the EG4 unit, it will come with a detachable cable and you can buy a 120 volt cable and it's only $20, which I'll leave some information down below. So instead of having to modify or make your own 120 volt, you can simply just buy it for about $20. Now this one actually comes with an adapter. Now eco-worthy actually supplies you with this adapter, but it seems like nobody tested because it doesn't do you any good. This adapter doesn't work with this one or with this one because of the wiring inside is normal for what we use. But because these are different, they are actually wired differently. So you have to make your own adapter by moving one of the wires. By using a L1430 receptacle plug like this one, you have to move the neutral wire. Normally it'll go in a certain location right next to the load wire, but you actually have to move the neutral wire directly across from it. So that way it can work with this one or this one. So the supplied adapter that eco-worthy gives you doesn't work with this and actually caused a lot of people to be disappointed with their purchase because they wanted to use it with 120 volts. But if you take it apart and look at the wiring, you can then make your own. So then it does work with 120 volts. So you can use your favorite small generator or whatever it is you want to power it with. And when it comes to your battery cables with the EG4, these are going to be 4 gauge cables with power pole connectors. These are really nice as they do just simply clip right on. You push them on, and if you want to change your setup or maybe remove the cables, it does have a little button on the side so you can press these and remove the cables if you were wanting to change your setup or something of the like. Now normally it will come with ring terminals, but I cut mine off because I did add this Anderson connector. This gives me a little bit more of a universal usage for this particular unit, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But my current setup is simply just the Anderson connector and then these power pole connectors, which then connect to the batteries that you see here behind me. This gives me a direct connection to the batteries where I can supply power to the batteries, but I can also take power from the batteries directly DC. So that's kind of one of the reasons while I did this setup is it gives me a little bit more control over some things that I wanted to do. And when you look at the front of these do come with an LCD screen, but both of them are not very good if you get off center from looking at the screen directly. So if you want to be able to see what's going on, you kind of have to look at it more straight on, which isn't really that bad of a deal because once you set these up, you're pretty much just setting it and forgetting it. On the side of the unit, you will see that it does have Wi-Fi and communications where you can hook it up to stuff like this. Even though I did try to hook this one up to the EG4 system, I really didn't have any luck, but most of the time when I've used this one or even this one, I set them up on a voltage. So if the voltage gets too low, then these will kick on automatically. Both of these also have manual breakers, and both of these can be set up for either voltage or percentage of the battery. Now, one thing that this one actually does have is the ability to have a 2-wire start function, which is kind of nice because if you have an inverter like this one behind me, you can have it start up with settings that are on the inverter with a 2-wire start. Or if you have a 2-wire start generator, which I did a review on this one not long ago, there are more 2-wire start generators coming out, but at the moment there is not very many. There are literally only a couple on the market. But having a 2-wire start generator allows either this or the inverter behind me to fire up the generator automatically. Then this will just start charging at your predetermined amperage, and then it'll start charging your battery. So it is kind of a cool function. Is it perfect? No, because there is no warm-up cycle and there's no cool-down cycle in the generator. It just basically fires up. But at least the amperage on this does kind of gradually go up. As your batteries get full, it'll gradually go down and slow down the generator. But once this does shut off, then the generator also shuts off, and so then it really doesn't give it much of a cool down period. That's the only kind of drawback I found with a 2-wire start system first, versus home systems have a little bit more of a warm-up and cool down cycle. Okay, testing the eco-worthy unit. Now, first off, I tested this with 240 volts just to see if I could get max output at 3200 watts. And I can. I held it there for over 20 minutes and it did just fine. I also did some thermal imaging just to make sure that there wasn't any crazy thing happening as far as overheating wires. Now, this was able to provide 3200 watts going to the batteries, which on AC side, that ends up being around 29 amps or about 3500 watts from your power source. So the generator is going to be running at about 3500 watts to provide 3200 watts out of this. Now, if you're going to use a 120 volt source like a small generator, then you're going to be limited down to only 30 amps. And I actually tried to overamp it. So I put the settings at about 35 to 40 amps, but it only provided 29.9 amps, which was around 1575 watts as far as output power from this unit. But the power being drawn, say, from a small generator, well, then you're going to be looking at about 1780 watts, give or take. So that means that little Honda that you did see here, well, that means it's going to be pretty much maxed out. So you may want something just a little bit bigger so you're not running it at full capacity. Now, when it does come to how loud this is, it's not terribly loud. I did do some dB testing, as you can see here. Now, one thing, it doesn't matter whether this is running at maybe 20% or 100% output, the sound level does stay the same. The fans come on and that's basically it. It's not variable speed like this one. And it's not something that's going to be terribly annoying unless you're just hanging out next to it the whole time. But say you were to use this in the storage compartment of an RV and you happen to have your bedroom right above it, yeah, you're going to hear it. So that might be a little bit annoying. Unless you do like some kind of fan noise to sleep, then maybe you'll like it. Now, the last test I did was also checking out idle consumption power. When I first tested this, it didn't seem quite right. So that's why I decided to get a few more pieces of test equipment out. That way I could see what the idle consumption was. Now, first I said it was around 45 to 50 watts, which actually looking at this, you can see here it's only 5 watts. That's basically AC power supplied to this, but not with the charging function into the on position. If you do press the on button, then you wait for the light to turn green and the relay switches over, then you can see our idle draw go up. Now we're only at around 20 watts, which is actually way less than what I thought it was in the beginning, so I'm glad I double checked it. Now, 20 watts is definitely a lot more acceptable because even in the manual, it says 45 watts for idle. So now we move over to the EG4, and again, with the 240 volt testing, I ended up putting this up to max of 99 amps to see if I could get the full 5,120 watts out of this unit. Now, it was only able to go up to about 93.2 amps, and if you take the amperage and do the math with the volts, then you're going to find out that our wattage out was around 5,100 or better. So one thing though, is that even though you're putting out 5,100 watts with this, you're going to draw 5,500 watts from, say, your generator that is supplying the power to this. Now, when it does come to max output though, I never recommend anybody running pieces of equipment at max output. Usually 80% sustained is normally what most of this stuff can handle. And if you want to do something a little bit higher, you want to make sure you're in cooler temperatures. That way it doesn't have to work so hard, overheat and more. Now, when it does come to powering this up with, say, the 120 volt, which you can again make this adapter, and it even shows you again here in the manual, which I made this one, and this was before that 120 volt cable was available. But the thing is that I did find is that you can kind of create an unsafe condition. Now, if you buy the 120 volt cable on this, it says it only allows about 1500 watts, give or take, as I don't remember the specs right off the top of my head. But if you use this adapter and you're not paying attention, I actually ran this all the way up to 70 amps and it was just screaming and also drawing over 4100 watts from the supply. So that means technically neither one of these are really rated for over 3600 watts. This is a 3600 or 30 amp adapter, so I could potentially melt this, melt the cable and more, causing a hazardous condition. So if you did build this, then you do want to pay attention to what you're doing with this, because it didn't stop. And from all the reviews I've watched, nobody actually covered it. It's like everybody missed it, including myself, because I didn't really run it up that high using a 120 volt source because I was using a smaller generator. So then I really never found the limits of what the 120 volt is. So if you buy that 120 volt cable, then it really should limit you down to about 15 amps, because even on the sticker right here on the top of the unit at 120 volts, it says 28 amps, which that would be correct, but there was nothing stopping it. Now, when it does come to sound checks on this one, it's a lot quieter. It has variable speed fans, so when this is powered on, the fans are at a really low rate. And as you gradually increase power, the fan speeds go up, which even when they are up high, I was running this at close to full speed using the 240 volt source. It actually wasn't that loud at all. It was a better tone than this one. You could still hear it obviously, but this one's a little bit easier to listen to if you are running it at max. Now, one thing I did find is during that 120 volt test, the fan speed kick off higher when it's applied with 120 volts. And as I ramped it up to 70, this thing sounded like a jet getting ready to take off. It was pretty impressive how loud it was. So if you're running this on 240, it runs quieter than it does on a 120 volt source, which makes a little bit more sense. It's running more efficiently with 240, so it can run a little bit cooler, but just something to note. Okay, now it comes to idle standby. So this unit, when it is supplied with a AC power source, it automatically turns on. And so the fans will also come on as well, no matter if it's 120 or 240. Now, when I tested this, I didn't have it hooked up to the batteries behind me. Again, they're just sitting there floating. Now, one thing I noticed is that the idle consumption on this is actually higher because the fans are constantly running. So instead of 20 watts max of this one's actually using about 32 watts of power as it just sits there getting ready to do something. Now, of course, most times if you do have this powered up, you're probably going to be charging batteries, so you're not going to just let it idle for nothing. Now, earlier I talked about how this can be used a little bit more universal because, again, these plug into my battery, which then I use the Anderson connector to plug into the actual unit. But if I'm not using this, I can actually charge up other things such as power stations. So now if I want, I can use this item to charge power stations, and you can see that I have two leads here. As you can see here, both of these power stations that I'm using, each one of these ports can draw a max of 15 amps. So that means by setting this unit up to about 35 amps, which gives me a little bit of headroom, it will supply each one of those units with 15 amps of power. So if we took the 15 amps along with setting the voltage, say at 57 volts, and as you can see, each one of these units is over 800 watts as far as the power that's going into the units. And again, by having this set up like this, and by having these power pole connectors directly plugged into the battery, I simply take this end, put it into here, and now I have direct DC out at 48 volts to charge up power stations, kind of like basically a giant fuel tank. So I can charge this one right behind me real quick. It'll sit there and charge at 48 volts at about the 10 or 15 amps that unit can do, or whatever the amperage is of the unit that you might have. So that's just another cool feature that you can do with this by setting up some of these types of things, or if you have a battery bank like that, by adding these power pole connectors, kind of made it a nice little universal setup. Now, one thing that I was thinking about here is that the voltage on this unit actually goes higher, up to 64 volts. So if I was to set this at, say, that same 35 amps, but I was actually providing more voltage, that means I would get more watts going into both of those power stations. So this one here actually kind of provides a little bit more, which is a feature this one can't do. So I thought that was actually kind of interesting after that test, and I realized, well, this one has a higher voltage output. Okay, some closing thoughts real quick. Now, this unit does feel like the build quality is a little bit better, but again, it's also double the price. Not that this unit is bad, it's just a little bit more simplistic. And if you did need to service this, like say change out the battery cables because you damaged one, melted one, you can actually take off this little plate over here, change the power cord, or change out the battery cables if needed. You can do the same thing with this one by removing the frame. If you're technical like that, you could probably change out battery cables, or if you had to change out this pin connector if it got damaged. Now when it does come to communications, this one definitely has the upper edge, as it does have the 2-wire start feature. It's already programmed for EG4 products and more, versus this one does have some communications, but it's probably only for eco-worthy products. It does say it has a Wi-Fi dongle, but I've never seen that Wi-Fi dongle available separately. It seems like if you want it, I've only seen them available when you buy an inverter. Now when it comes to longevity, obviously this one being pretty new and not a lot of user feedback, well, we don't know how well this one's going to last. This one is built pretty tough. It should last fine. I don't really see any issues with this one. Now, as long as you don't use this at max or abuse it, I'm assuming this should last quite a long time. Just like this one, if you abuse any of your equipment, well, you're going to get a shorter life out of it. So now that you have all this information, which one of these two would you consider? I hope you liked the video, and I hope to see you in another one.